This is Eric Hunter here, and I want to talk about pendulum dowsing, also known as pendulum questions and answers. So using your pendulum to answer questions. And so I hear a lot of questions that really indicate to me a massive amount of misunderstanding about what is going on when you are using your pendulum to answer questions. So I want to just briefly explain my view of what's going on and how, and this viewpoint that I'm going to share with you, if you can take it in and try it, you will find that you will increase the accuracy of your dowsing by a lot. It will become a lot more accurate, a lot more reliable. Okay, so the best comparison, I think, the number one thing you got to get in your mind and the best comparison is that dowsing with your pendulum is a lot like driving a car. So let me explain. The pendulum is like your car. So the car is moving, all right? The questions that you ask or the statements that you're testing with your pendulum, those are like the directions, like where you're telling the car to go. You know, I'm gonna head to the store, I'm gonna go to my friend's house or whatever. So the pendulum's the car, your questions are the directions. Now, the movement of your hand. Now, your hand is what moves the pendulum. The pendulum does not move by itself. Okay, your hand and that moves the pendulum and the responses, like the movements that your hand makes, that is like you driving the car. So what that involves is that number one, you are moving the steering wheel, stepping on the gas, stepping on the brakes, whatever, all the operations of the car, which you've learned. It's like you learn how to move a pendulum. But then in addition to that, you are responding to conditions that are outside of you. So you are having a response to the environmental conditions of the road. So let's tie this all together. So the car is like your pendulum. What the question you ask or the statement you're testing is like the directions. And then the movement of your hand is like you driving the car and responding to the conditions of the road. So my view of dowsing is that it is a sensory experience. You are using your senses, all senses known and unknown to science, in order to get your hand to move in a way that's intelligible for you to answer questions. So if you have that understanding in mind that dowsing is using your senses to sense an answer, which you are then indicating with movement of your hand, which you are making, this will increase the accuracy of your dowsing by a lot. And also it eliminates a lot of like concerns that people have because you are the one in control. You are sensing something outside of yourself and just indicating it with your hand movement. It's not a spirit guide telling you what the answer is or some, evil thing, evil demon or something moving your pendulum. And it's not you going into your subconscious mind and trying to dig out an answer from there. And the subconscious or unconscious mostly works with things from the past. So if you think of yourself, when you sit down with your pendulum, think, I am going to ask a question and I'm going to try to sense an answer. That will put you in a frame of mind that will make your dowsing much more accurate. And it'll also dispel a lot of the fears you have because you actually have a lot of control over the process. All right, so I personally prefer to use charts. I found that dowsing a chart is much more reliable than dowsing in the air. So that idea of training your pendulum, I found that it totally doesn't work. After a while, like, the yes becomes the no, and it's very unreliable. I found it's way more reliable if you have a diagram, even just a simple yes and no, or you just write a Y on one side and a no on the other and just swing your pendulum towards that. Because then you don't have to be tracking, what the yes or the no is in your head. It's like it's on the paper. So all you got to do is just ask the question and just sort of sense what an answer would be and then just allow your hand to move, and your hand will just move you know, relatively unconsciously, but it's being guided by your senses. It's not just coming from the depths of your unconscious. Okay, so that is like a perspective or paradigm shift that I feel if you can try to wrap your head around that and try to understand that, that can improve your dowsing ability a lot. So you're opening yourself up to sense an answer. Now, how you sense it is it's not completely clear. You know, some of us are highly psychic and intuitive, so we can sense it that way. You know, a lot of us probably are very intuitive to do this work. But even just a normal person can sense a lot more than they realize. So like your heart can sense things, your intestines can sense things, your third eye region of your head, you know, like and then also you just have your normal senses, but then there's also some psychic clairvoyance going on. There's energy. You can feel, a lot of us can feel, either knowingly or unknowingly, sense energy, like walk into a room and sense the energy of the room's off. So we have all kinds of senses that we don't really, are not fully aware of oftentimes, or maybe some of you are. So you want to be tapping into those, right? And so when you're doing this dowsing, you're not getting the information from another being or something, or someone's not making your pendulum move. It's not like an evil demon making it move or something. You're just using it to basically amplify your senses. So think about driving the car example. That is a sensory experience combined with unconscious movements. So when you're driving and moving the steering wheel, you're not really conscious of what you're doing half the time, or you're stepping on the gas or the brakes. It's a learned movement, and you do it, this unconscious learned movement, you do it in response to road conditions. And it's at the point where, you could be talking on your phone, obviously safely through the car speaker system, not holding your phone. Okay, you can be talking on your phone while multitasking and doing all kinds of driving and stuff. It should be the same thing with dowsing. You don't really think about your hand, where it's moving or how it's going to move. Like, you kind of just surrender that part. It's like the driving the car, but you're doing it based on your response to the stimulus. You put out a signal and you get a stimulus in response. It's like sending out a signal and then getting the response back. If you adopt that mindset when doing dowsing, this will help you a lot to improve the accuracy of what you're doing, and you'll get much better results than if you're confused about where the answers are coming from or why it's doing it, things like that. Okay, so I hope that video was helpful for you, and yeah, good luck with your pendulum Q&A. Bye.